2016 and I found a lump on my right breast, and I instinctively knew it was breast cancer. The reason was because I was running 2 acupuncture clinics at St Luke's Hospice, and most of my patients were breast cancer survivors. And if you ever watched the advert on the TV, it was like that. It was as if someone had just blown me over like a feather. And when I got my diagnosis, I put the lump in the middle of like a mind map, and I put all the eventualities, because I had no idea what was going to happen, because I'd heard at least 1,000 other stories about breast cancer. So yeah, and when I went to see the consultant and he said, right, let's book you in, and I had a mastectomy and reconstruction at the same time, he said, I can do it on 1st of April, April Fool's Day. I was like, are you having a laugh? And he said to me, well, what's wrong with that? You know, we can do it on that day. And I was like, well, you're going to have to do it after 11 because I'm really superstitious, because everybody does a superstitious thing. A prank or a joke before 11 o'clock. If I take you back a little bit further from, I'd been diagnosed with ulcerative colitis with a couple of months after having William, my son. And when I look back now, my whole life was full of stress. My dad was dying of cancer. I just had a little baby boy. I had a very high powered target. I ran a sales team, £2.5 million target. My diet and lifestyle was pretty crap. I was driving for here, there and everywhere, so everything was grab on the go. So no wonder I got ulcerative colitis, you know. And someone suggested to try acupuncture, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll have a go at that. Got nothing to lose, you know, and kind of thought, is it all mumbo jumbo, or is it modern day voodooism or something? But I just thought, you know, I was taking steroids at the time and trying to manage my symptoms. And I went to see the acupuncturist in the October. By the February, I'd gone into remission. And since then, touch wood, I've been in remission ever since. So at that stage, I just fell in love with acupuncture. I went and found a course down in Bath, or Bath, whatever you want to call it. And I'm actually one of the lecturers now down there. But when I qualified, it was one of my real good friends who was a parish counsellor with me. And he said, Emma, why don't you go and volunteer at St Luke's Hospice? I thought, okay. And it was him, Sean, bless him, he's no longer here, but it was him that took me down the path of me helping others through cancer, and then ultimately acupuncture helping me after my breast cancer as well. Because since I had a mastectomy, I went into menopause, and it was literally within 24 hours my hot flushes started. Periods stopped immediately. So yeah, so at the age of 46, I was in surgical menopause. I seemed to be connected to cancer all the time, and one of my good friends, Debbie, you know Debbie, and she said, oh, do you really want to be around all of that still? And I just think, well, it's obviously a calling, because, you know, I'm now an ambassador for Prevent Breast Cancer. I recently joined the board on Halton Haven Hospice as a trustee. I still see lots of cancer patients in my clinic. It just feels like it's part of me, and sometimes you've got to go with the flow. I think you shouldn't push against it. So I did a regular check, or still do, every month. I was doing regular checks every month, and I was actually going on a girls' spa day, and it was a Sunday. I was checking my breasts as you do in the shower, and like I say, I found it. And I remember shouting to Jonathan, my husband, and he will say even now he knew there was something wrong in my voice, because I just went, Jonathan. And you know, he reassured me, said, oh, I'm sure it's fine. You know, I'd had cysts before in my breast, I'd had the cysts removed. So initially my lump was a certain size, and I'm not going to say the sizes, because those who've been through breast cancer know that it's quite a sensitive subject. They offered me a lumpectomy, and because of my experience of seeing so many patients, I said no, I wanted a mastectomy, and in my gut, in my gut, it said mastectomy. And the first thing out of my consultant's mouth when I walked in and sat down, he said, you were right to have a mastectomy, because it was much larger than what was initially predicted. So for me, and my gut feeling said, actually I wanted the, for want of a better way of saying it, a nuclear option rather than a it's okay for now option. When they took away my my breast, they also took the sentinel lymph node as well. And when they tested the lymph node, it hadn't obviously gone into my lymph node. So so that was job done, basically. No chemo, no radio, and no tamoxifen or anything like that. People who've had breast cancer will tell you it changes you forever. And I always call it my Hotel California part. It's, if you ever remember the song, right at the end, it says, or they sing, you can check out any time you like, but you can never leave. And you can carry on with your life. You can get on with things in your life, but it'll never leave you. It's always there. You know, when I stand in front of the mirror, I'm trying not to get upset now, but when I stand in front of the mirror and I don't see what I used to see, it doesn't help up here. But then I kind of give myself a bit of a talking to, and I say, look, posh spice and old spice, you're okay, I love you both in different ways, but you know, and you know, the wonders of medicine today is the reason why I'm here today. You know, when we look back 20, 30 years ago, you know, I wouldn't have been given those kind of options. The hardest part for me was telling my son, William. He was 9. Sorry. And he knew that I'd been having tests. Part of your training in the hospice environment, they tell you to talk to your children and not hold it back, because they're very sensitive, they pick things up. But not to tell them everything, because they don't need to know everything. And I remember sitting William down saying, you know, Mum's been having tests on her breasts, and he said, yes. And he said, are you okay? And I said, not really, I've got breast cancer. And he just looked at me and he started to fill up with tears. And he said, Mum, I'll still love you if you don't have any hair. And it still gets me now, gosh. You know, I'm 6 years and in my experience, certainly over the last 5 years, women are becoming younger, and it's one of the things that I've talked to Prevent Breast Cancer about. For me, when you see some of the statistics that women are getting younger, getting breast cancer. We need to do something about that. We need to find out what it is, why is it happening in younger generations, and if it is, then we need to lower the age for mammograms, because sometimes it's too late. I lost a patient of mine a few years ago, and it was just too late for her, and she had 3 children, and you know, she was younger than me. I was quite a shy child. I wouldn't say, as they say, boo to a goose, and I probably remained quite quiet really until probably till my early 30s. I wanted to go for a promotion, and I did go for the promotion, and I didn't get it. I was working at the Bank of Scotland at the time. I'd been there for 9 years, and when I came back to my desk, someone had very neatly cut out telesales manager for Yellow Pages and put it in an envelope and put it on my desk. And I still don't know to this day who did it. So I thought, right, okay, I'll do this. It's quite a long process, but in the meantime, I thought, I need to go back to school, because I was a bit of a naughty child at school. I really was. I sat my GCSE English and GCSE Maths, and I'd never done GCSE before because all my exams were CSEs. And that actually gave me a real good boost. It kind of, yeah. And then when I got the job, I was like, oh, I can do this. So after my training, the first day, we walked around, and we walked into the Northern Marketing Manager's office, and Jonathan, my husband, was stood there, and you know, and 2 years later, we got together. We were both going through. Who inspires me? Who pushes me? Probably Jonathan. He'll say, you know, you can do this. You've got this. You know, are you sure I can do this? And I think when you question yourself, it's almost like you want to, it's like a switch. Whereas if you think you can't do it, you won't be able to do it. But if you think you can do it, you can. Cancer is kind of my little fairy. It is my opportunity to change things. I'd started writing a book in a completely different voice, and I'd become stagnant. I'd come, writer's block or whatever you say. And I thought, I don't know what I'm doing here. And then when I realised I'd treated over 1,000 ladies going through the menopause, and my experience of all of that and all the stories that I've been told, I just thought, how can I tell everybody else what's in here? I brainstormed with a friend of mine, Jill Barham. Actually, it was me that came up with the Menopausal Godmother for her, because she was doing the radiant menopause. And she went, no, it just doesn't suit me. And then the following morning, I messaged her to say, would you mind if I take menopause? She went, no, well, you came up with it. So I rewrote the book literally within 6 weeks. I'd written 4 or 5 chapters, or rewrote them all. So I launched the book on the 1st of April last year, and it went to Amazon #1 literally within hours, which was wonderful, but it just blows your mind. I wanted the book to be quite light and easy to read because of brain fog potentially and stuff like that. So so the book really is what was in my head and what I'd heard from other people. And so the first part was kind of me and my journey and acupuncture and going through breast cancer. But then it was my protocol, my acupuncture protocol called the Guy Protocol, because I've been famous for something. I devised a protocol over the years for menopausal symptoms, because a lot of breast cancer survivors go through the menopause straight after. And it's a series, basically it's a if you want a different word for it, a prescription that helps for hot flushes, brain fog, sleep disturbance, aches, pains, forgetfulness, all those kind of issues. And when I started using it, I started to see improvements. And St Luke's had the data for that, and they said, yes, yeah, use it. So they could show that it worked. But in the book is fitness, nutrition, hypnotherapy, Reiki, reflexology, even anxiety coach, you know, just little tasters of women to try and see if that works for them. And then the other nugget is the chapter that's written by men. And I wanted to kind of take it to the other side of what they go through. And there's 3 very honest men, including Jonathan, my husband, which I cried when I read it, when he wrote it. And I was like, you really think? He's like, no, I really. And my book editor actually said to me, Sian, she said, it's like a love story. And I was like, really? Oh, okay. I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave this world a better place for my children, including Gabriella and Marcus, my stepchildren, but for everybody else. I think I have, not a right, but I think I have an opportunity to leave an imprint on someone's heart, brain, thought process. And if I can do that, that's what drives me.